There is a shift occurring within our world, and as we near the inflection point, there is a greater responsibility for each of us to be aware of our own energetic signature. The choices that we make, the actions that we take, reverberate throughout all dimensions in our multidimensional reality. The 3D, or third density, is the dimension you currently occupy and is considered the realm of physical reality, where we experience the physical world through our 5 senses in 3 dimensions. It is often associated with a dualistic perception of reality, where there is a clear separation between the self and other, and the focus is generally on individuality, materialism, and survival. One's own ego, which is necessary for one to exist within the 3D construct, will start to take a back seat to one's higher self as the energy in our world continues to shift. Though some would consider time to be the 4th dimension, time is also a construct of the 3D reality. It keeps us trapped by limitation. Our lives here are governed by universal laws, one of which is cause and effect. Without the linear progression of time, the concept of cause and effect may dissolve or become fluid. Events may not necessarily follow a linear chain of cause and effect, and the understanding of causality and consequences may become more complex and multidimensional. In Hindu philosophy, Maya is the cosmic force that creates the illusion of separateness and duality in the world, including the perception of time, space, and individual identities. It's considered to be the root cause of ignorance and suffering, as it leads individuals to identify with their physical bodies, emotions, thoughts, and worldly possessions, and keeps them trapped in the cycle of birth and death. It is entirely possible that our short lives, though perceived by us to hold so much importance because of the idea that we only get one, are merely the blink of an eye in the grand scheme of things. The 4th dimension, or 4th density, is associated with a higher level of consciousness and is believed to involve a shift from physical reality to a more subtle or energetic one. It is associated with experiences such as expanded awareness, increased intuition, and heightened sensitivity to energy and emotions. Lucid dreaming, astral projection, and even the spirit world are said to exist on this plane. 4D could be described as a transition or bridge dimension between 3D and 5D. The astral plane is the source of many premonitions, prophecies, visions, spiritual teachings, divine visitations, and spiritual artwork found in ancient spiritual texts. Scenes similar to those depicted by ancient peoples throughout history can be found when traveling out of body in the astral plane and also in near-death experiences. The language of the astral plane is intuitive and symbolic, which is why many of the messages brought back by people who have astral traveled or dreamt are symbolic in their nature, and have formed highly sophisticated symbolic artwork and texts, such as those of ancient Egypt, India, and South America. Since the astral plane is common to all of humankind, as well as other entities, the symbols and writings of different, seemingly unrelated cultures which existed at different times often have many similarities, share common symbols, and contain the same universal principles at their core. Life is multidimensional, and the astral plane is part of another dimension. This does not conflict with many religions, but actually explains much of their source and provides a background for their cosmologies. The 4th dimension is humanity's connection to spiritual realms and guidance. We all go there at death, as our stay here in the 3D is just temporary, but we also go there every night in our dreams. The 4D is a very real place, just as the 3D is to those who do not believe in anything outside of what they can see or touch themselves. The 5th dimension could be perceived as a higher level of consciousness that transcends the limitations of physical reality and is believed to involve a shift to a more unified and interconnected perception of reality. The Law of One describes this higher state. It is a dimension of love, unity, and higher states of consciousness. Communication from and within this dimension can be described as transcending language and words altogether. Language, though a powerful tool within the physical reality, is unnecessary in higher dimensions. Telepathy and transference of emotion, as well as transference of what can only be described as impression, is how communication varies from our current dimension. If you have ever had difficulty finding the words to express what you're trying to say, you are familiar with one of the limitations of the 3D physical reality. If, while in that state, you've observed another individual seemingly pick up on the idea or impression that you're trying to convey, then you have an idea of how telepathy and thought transference works. How does this happen? It's because you are more than just your physical form. You are more than just your avatar. Without the constraints of time and outside of this lifetime that is playing out for you, you are everything. You are the all, you are the one. You are consciousness. You are timeless. You are source experiencing itself. We as consciousness at one time came from source, and we have the opportunity to return to it, but with the knowledge of our own existence. To get that knowledge, we as consciousness have descended through dimensions into the matter of the three-dimensional universe. Everything is modified light, tempered by the laws of a dimension, and in this dimension, we have the ability to learn. We learn in the school of life, through the interaction of darkness and light. One might ask, why is there so much suffering then? Why do bad things happen to good people? Why is there so much opposition to the good? It's because we need opposition, contrast, in order to learn. Darkness gives form. Where there is only light, there is no form, and there can be no knowledge gained. There are many dimensions. Some say 11, some might say infinite, and your inability to perceive them all does not make them any less real. There are dimensions that you can currently perceive, including the length, width, height, and depth of the room that you currently occupy. But did you know that there are people living in the 3D alongside you somewhere who experience something called synesthesia? This ability allows a human to experience atypical combinations of the senses. Some can taste sound. Others can see colors associated with words or sounds. Some experience a specific bodily sensation, such as tingling on the back of one's neck, when hearing certain sounds. Some people can taste names, like the name John tasting like oranges. Mirror touch synesthesia, described as a kind of supercharged empathy, is when a person feels as though they're being touched if they witness it happening to someone else, as in the case of a neurologist who felt intense pressure in his chest when he witnessed a patient receiving CPR. Spatial sequence synesthesia involves seeing numbers or numerical sequences as points in space. It is interesting to note how the cult of science openly acknowledges this anomalous occurrence and even brings attention to it with studies and articles, but dismisses things like out-of-body experiences, paranormal encounters, and near-death experiences as something the brain makes up. Dismissed as though there's nothing to it. Doesn't look like anything to me, just your brain misfiring.
Nothing to see here.
There are people who experience what
Science
would call hallucinations. Sounds, sights, tactile sensations, even emotions like excitement or dread, and
Science
slaps a label on this and calls it schizophrenia or psychosis. These alterations in perception show how varied a person's experience can be. Is it possible that these hallucinations or delusions are evidence of something more? Is it possible that there are dimensions around us all the time that transcend our ability to fully comprehend? Is it possible that the 3 million cases of schizophrenia diagnosed every year in the US alone might have a deeper implication than just your brain makes you believe things that aren't real? It's interesting to note that
Science
has a set conclusion on what these delusions are and what it means, but under the constitutionally protected freedom of religion, a person can openly believe in and discuss things like religious visions such as those found in the Holy Bible. It depends on who you ask, but the Bible can be taken either literally or as allegory. When searching for the definition of a vision, this is what I found. A vision is something seen in a dream, trance, or religious ecstasy, especially a supernatural appearance that usually conveys a revelation. Visions generally have more clarity than dreams, but traditionally fewer psychological connotations, Visions are known to emerge from spiritual traditions and could provide a lens into human nature and reality. Prophecy is often associated with visions. So again, visions. What makes some visions spiritual or religious, and what causes other visions to be classified as psychosis? I found it noteworthy that spirituality and religiousness have been shown to be highly prevalent in patients with schizophrenia. It stands to reason that a person who is sensitive to influence by negative energies around them could be involved in a spiritual war. There are a large amount of parallels between accounts of demonic possession and the experiences of people with a diagnosis of schizophrenia. In other cultures, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam, there are deities or spirits much like demons, which represent various forms of spiritual obstacles and hindrances. In Buddhism, Mara is a malevolent being often associated with illusions, temptations, and delusions that distract individuals from the path of enlightenment and liberation from suffering. Is it possible that in the US, where often
Science
reigns supreme, the things classified as delusions, psychosis, and magical thinking are of a more spiritual nature? If we are spirit in a temporary physical form, is it not possible that we're surrounded by other beings, which we do not necessarily perceive because they resonate with and exist on overlapping planes of existence with our own? Is it possible that when your dog or cat fix their gaze upon what to you looks like nothing, they are actually seeing through the veil with their superior senses? And is it possible that when a jet breaks the sound barrier and a cloud appears or the light bends around the craft, that we are actually breaking through a dimensional barrier? Is it possible that if the sound barrier can be broken, so can other barriers to our perception? Barriers such as sight, allowing one to see into other realms, even experience other realms physically that were previously invisible or inaccessible to them? I found this interesting that in our world, there are so many levels and variations to what a person can experience as normal and acceptable. In a time long past, things like our cell phones or a television would have been considered magic. Technology would have been considered sorcery to anyone who wasn't from the era of that technology's origin. The things we are unfamiliar with can sometimes seem far-fetched, but with an open mind and a willingness to grow, one can expand one's awareness into unfathomable proportions. It can be very easy at this current time to pick up on frequencies of confusion, anger, chaos, and degradation that fill our world. The current state of things in the world as it is but a necessary part of the cycle that recurs in our realm over and over again. The law of entropy states that the entropy or disorder of a closed system tends to increase over time. This law describes the directionality of time, as systems tend to move from states of lower entropy or more ordered to states of higher entropy or more disordered with the passage of time. In the book The Adam and Eve Story by Chan Thomas, which emphasizes the recurrence of cataclysmic events, it is explained that when the magnetic field of a lab rat's testing environment was lowered, the rats began to act in unforeseen ways. They exhibited behavior toward one another that could only be described as deranged, violent, and unnatural. In our current 3D reality, the electromagnetic field is changing. Magnetic north is moving. And if you are paying attention to the energy in our world, there is a tendency for the masses to act much like these lab rats. It's an interesting dichotomy. As the chaos increases, so too does the collective consciousness continue to follow the path to enlightenment. In order to raise the frequency of the realm, there must be increased experiences that act as catalysts for those who hear the call. Everything in the universe is composed of energy, and different energies or frequencies can resonate with each other. Think of how two musical instruments tuned to the same frequency can create harmonic resonance, while those tuned to different frequencies may produce harmonic dissonance. By raising one's frequency, one may align oneself with higher frequencies that are in harmony with positive experiences and repel or completely bypass lower frequencies associated with negative experiences. Positive thoughts, emotions, and actions can attract similar frequencies or energies, leading to the manifestation of positive circumstances, bypassing undesirable ones. You could probably classify your life experiences, your memories, as somewhere on the scale of negative to positive. Memories hold a charge. When you recall these memories, the frequency you were on when you created the memories is likely to be accessed, both by your body and your mind. You can feel into the memory. If it was a traumatic memory for you, the recall might cause you to experience visceral discomfort, as memory is not stored in the brain, but rather in the cellular form throughout the entire organism. The same goes for positive memories. You can recall a moment when you felt the warmth of a loved one's embrace, and if powerful enough, you can allow yourself to actually feel those uplifting waves of energy as the auric field of your body tunes itself to the frequency you were on when you created that memory. The etheric or auric field that surrounds you is closely connected to the physical body, and it serves as a template or blueprint for its structure and function. It is often described as a type of vital energy or life force that animates the physical body and sustains its vitality. This life force is within all things, in everything, including minerals, plants, animals, human beings, and infinite other life forms that exist within our own multidimensional reality. Once you've realized that the energy flowing through yourself flows through all things and has always been and always will be, you can decide to become the conductor of your own symphony. You can look at any experience that you might classify as negative as an opportunity. You can reframe what you once thought of as a bad memory. Negative experiences can be seen as opportunities for growth, learning, and soul evolution. Challenges, hardships, suffering, and adversity are seen as catalysts for transformation. They provide opportunities for one to learn important life lessons, develop resilience, cultivate compassion and empathy, and deepen their understanding of themselves. Negative experiences can also serve as a means for one to confront their own shadow aspects, unresolved emotions, and limiting beliefs. They can highlight the impermanence and transient nature of material reality, helping us to detach from things that once threw us out of balance. It's the contrast which allows one to fully embrace the impact of positive and negative experiences alike. The veil of illusion that has clouded our perception of reality is lifted, revealing the true nature of existence and interconnectedness of all things. While this shift in consciousness is not without its challenges, it is a great opportunity that will allow those who hear the call to begin their next adventure beyond the veil.